everybody walks in a room and sees different things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like somebody may walk in a room and just be upset with the way it's designed. Like, man, you really should have put this there instead of that way. Somebody may walk in and say, why is she wearing those heels with that shirt?
Right.
Another dude might be like, yo, like, there's not enough energy in here. We need more energy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you feel like is missing is like what you're here to contribute. What you feel like is wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's, I think, what makes us unique.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Eke, and you're watching your new favorite show, Life Lessons, on NCRF TV. Today, we have a very special show. I'm going to sit down with some HBCU grads, and we are going to dig into what it means to be HBCU Made. In other words, what has been the impact of going to an HBCU on your current life? Let's find out. I have some guests here today. They're going to introduce themselves. Ryan, let's go ahead and start with you and rep your school. Let us know where you're from.
What's good, y'all? My name is Ryan Thurman, Fort Valley State University graduate, 2020. And then I got my master's at North Carolina A&T State University, 2022. What it do?
Two-time HBCU grad.
You know it.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Darko.
What's good, y'all? Went to Howard University and also went to UCLA and Loma Linda University.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have kind of a mixed college experience.
Yeah.
So I want to
for
dive
sure.
into that. We're definitely going to dive into that.
What's going on, world? My name is Lino. I graduated from Harris-Stowe State University in 2019. Welcome, everybody.
All right. And I see the Harris-Stowe State representation.
The illustrious Harris-Stowe State University.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. First, let's talk about the fun times. Okay. I did not go to an HBCU.
Where'd you go?
I went to San Francisco State University for my undergrad and Pepperdine for my graduate degree. So at the time when I was going to undergrad, I'm from California, I'm from LA. It wasn't something that was really pushed. And it's something that I really wish that it was more encouraged, because the more I learn about the rich history of HBCUs and the experiences that people have had at HBCUs, it makes me feel like somehow I may have missed out on some, on some stuff. So let's just talk about what are some of the highlights of attending an HBCU for you? What were some of those amazing memories, if you have some?
My most memorable memory, the one that stands out the most, is probably crossing for sure across the greatest fraternity of all time, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay.
It was pivotal in my life because I had just finished my baseball career. I really had a bum shoulder, you know what I mean? I almost tore my rotator cuff. I couldn't throw a ball 10 feet. So me being able to find a group of like-minded individuals that were geared towards, manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplifting their communities resonated well with me and allowed me to actually, start to feel better about what I'm putting out into the world.
I love that.
And I relate. My HBCU experience was a big memory. But overall, I guess my best memory or a collection of memories, I was Mr. Fort Valley State.
Oh, okay.
2019 or 2020, the 12th Mr. Fort Valley State University. And, just with meeting the other HBCU kings and queens, I'm still friends with those people to this day. We still talk in our group chats, the fellows, we still get together. We all, most of us live in North Carolina. So it's just those memories, those conferences, the connections you made, and the connections I made during that experience was definitely fulfilling and, kind of motivated me to who I am today, where I am today, the connections I have today. So that HBCU experience going to, or that HBCU royalty is one of the more memorable factors of my HBCU experience.
And I love the fact that you use the word royalty, because it makes me think, the impact that it's probably had on your confidence and your identity.
Definitely.
For me, I went into my school looking for the BSU because I had been part of the BSU in high school. And so I went knocking on doors because I knew that was a community that I was already familiar with and I knew would welcome me. So I could only imagine going to a school where, most of the people look like you.
Definitely,
what does that do for your confidence, for your pride, and for your identity?
Yeah, I think attending HBCU helps you grow up too. It's so many situations that you're placed in just naturally that every HBCU student goes to, We deal with the financial aid issues. We deal with, going to the CAF on certain days. There are challenges with professors. There's social challenges. So many things that, naturally that happens at an HBCU that helps you just grow up. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's another key element of experience at a HBCU. So, yeah.
For me, it was completely different in all honesty because I went to a PWI first and then I transferred into my HBCU. And for me, I grew up in St. Louis. I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in St. Louis. You know what I mean? So I suffered those traumatic experiences that certain teenagers shouldn't have to go through or deal with. You know what I mean? So when I got back to Harris-Stowe State University, I was like, man, all I had was what I dealt with in high school. The dice games in the bathrooms and the folks that didn't really care about school or anything like that are actually going off to college. They just wanted to get done with high school, go get them a job at some dead end place, you know what I mean, and go on. But then I got to Harris-Stowe, I found out that there were actually people from all kinds of different places in America, whether it's Detroit or Kansas City or Memphis, Atlanta, you know what I mean, Houston, that actually wanted to do something with their lives and they had a plan to execute it. And that made me go, all right, man, I really had a different notion that was preconceived and it was, disrespectful almost to a certain point. But now I'm more enlightened and I'm like, okay, everyone has an opportunity and a chance to be better than their circumstance or where they came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and thank you for sharing that story and talking about being better despite your circumstances. Let's talk about the college experience. We talked about the fun stuff, but I'm sure there had to have been challenges, and they don't have to necessarily be challenges associated with being at an HBCU, or they could be. But what challenges did you face in college, that you had to really make it through?
One of the bigger challenges that I faced in college was actually completing the degree program because I only initially went to college because that's what my mom told me I had to do. That's what my big brother did. I didn't really have a set degree that I wanted to obtain or anything like that because I watched my mom be a supervising accountant for a Fortune 500 company like Sarah Lee. I saw them take her job from her and tell her, hey, train this lady that's in the Philippines who can't speak a lick of English to do your job because you don't want to move your family over to the Philippines because they were beginning to outsource. So I started to think like, man, I really don't want to sit somewhere in a cubicle with corporate America and have something like that happen to me. So my biggest thing was actually completing the degree program because I would ask my mom every single Mother's Day, every single birthday, every single Christmas, what you want, Mom? That degree. So that was my biggest thing, is completing that degree. And along the way, I found other motivational pieces to actually get me across the finish line. But yeah, biggest part, completing the program.
I think one of my early challenges at my HBCU at Fort Valley State. So coming out of high school, I didn't have any scholarship offers. I played basketball. So I was hoping to walk on at Fort Valley State, but that didn't work out. So now I'm just kind of having this routine of waking up, going to class. We got a recreation gym on Fort Valley's campus. I'll play in the old gym, come back to the dorm, play a little 2K, basketball game, repeat. And that happened during my whole freshman year and probably 75% of my sophomore year. So trying to kind of navigate and figuring out what am I going to do as far as like besides just my old routine of being a basketball player. Mm-hmm. So, I ended up getting into student leadership, but it took me almost 2 full years to kind of find my lane and find what my purpose would be at the university while getting a degree.
And what did student leadership do for you?
Oh man, the confidence, knowing how to code switch, and then also student leaderships help. Being a student leader at an HBCU helps you, become into the person that you're supposed to be. It helps you mold you into where you're going, how you're going to be. It's just so much that goes into it of being a student leader. The confidence of speaking in front of a crowd, being able to organize and host meetings, events, so forth and so on, and just kind of being that how they say, stick out like a sore thumb, being that sore thumb to your campus, to help your campus community, to help it grow, elevate, so forth and so on. So, yeah.
The biggest challenge I probably wrestled with in college was wrestling with the idea that the life that I pictured for myself doesn't necessarily happen just by graduating. I think as an entrepreneur, like just kind of the lifestyle I pictured myself living, for a long time I had the expectation that once I graduate, my adult life looks that way. You know what I mean? And I think as I got closer to graduation, there's that realization of, oh wait, you graduated, you took the same major as me, but your life doesn't look like how I want my life to look. You know what I mean? And I think realizing that following the rules is not going to get me there was kind of like, although that's a general college experience, I think was probably my biggest thing I struggled with. I think the biggest thing I took away from it being at an HBCU was just probably a higher sense of self-confidence, having been both at a predominantly white school and an HBCU. I think just being around your people for an extended period of time, 4 years, just gives you a sense of like who you are and a sense of like just like fundamental confidence outside of going into like the real world. You know what I mean? Like, especially, you know, like when you're in environments where everybody doesn't look like you, you feel like you have to, it's harder to be yourself. It's harder to find yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think for me, that's probably the biggest thing I took from it, along with like lifelong friends. Like they say right now, men struggle the most with loneliness, like today. You know, and I think, and anytime I see that, I'm just grateful that God managed to put me in a situation where I ran into the right people. And I now have lifelong friends. Any major city I'm at, it's like, oh, so-and-so's here, so-and-so's there, you know what I mean? And yeah.
I mean, I imagine the networking and the network has to be pretty amazing.
I'm not, I can definitely attest to that. A lot of the connections that I had post-grad, graduating from Fort Valley, that helped me so much, like getting into North Carolina A&T, getting the graduate assistantship at North Carolina A&T, the position that I'm at now at Johnson C. Smith University, Charlotte, North Carolina. Those HBCU connections from undergrad and grad school is flourishing for me now in my adult life. So yeah, that networking is key. Like, don't let nobody tell y'all different. The networking, like, you know, for those, and there's a lot of, and that I want to speak to the people who may not have the best confidence or may not be as social with people on their HBCU campus or campus period. Like, you have to get out that shell in order for your life to blossom. In order for you're gonna have to step out of your comfort zone to be the best version of yourself. And that's just simply, hey, how you doing? My name is XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that one, hey, you showing up to that event, you just being present and betting on yourself is gonna be very beneficial in the long run. And I feel like I'm a product of that. Go ahead. Lino.
Most certainly, because like the kids that are about to enter college now are the COVID babies. They literally don't have that social aspect of high school. They didn't get to understand that you should enjoy high school because they were behind a computer screen for so long. You know, so once you get out of that comfort zone, that's where most of the growth takes place. All right, and you're also able to, you know, expand upon it and create that little bit of familiarity with other people and create that close knit family. You know, the family that you have and that you grew up with, you know, those are people that are related to you. You did not get to choose them. Your chosen family is the family that you go onward with, the ones that become those lifelong friends. Those become those aunties or cousins that you have that aren't really blood or anything like that, so to speak, come from those chosen friends.
Yeah. I mean, and you were talking about just like saying hey and you know, smiling at people, and just in general, like if I can't drive home that point enough, just connecting with other people. You never know the impact that you can have on somebody else or somebody else's day or whatever the case may be. You know, speaking of COVID babies, losing that connection, you know, we need connection back, right?
Correct. And closed mouths don't get fed. So unless you're someone who's going around speaking about what it is that you want or what you want to be, or you're looking for assistance with whatever it is that you need assistance with, if you're just sitting there quiet, someone's just going to be like, well, why are they always so upset? Why are you always making that face? You know what I mean? You have to open up and speak to people.
Yeah. Well, and some people are scared to open up and speak to people because they don't feel like they have social skills. So, like, where did you guys develop your social skills?
Mine came from my grandmother. She had me in church at a very early age. So, yeah, I really came from that. And also learning that it was okay to be myself. I'm a nerd. I like being a nerd. I'm probably the coolest nerd that you'll run into, but once I found out that it was okay to be myself and that there are other people that are out there like myself, I stopped caring about what other people think. Because in all honesty, I didn't know that other people existed until the moment that I met them. So why would I allow them to affect how I feel about myself? And once I figured out that, it was over with.
Yeah, you seem very personable to me. So,
Yeah, I've always been a big social guy.
social butterfly over here.
Definitely. I agree. My grandmother forced me to do things in the church, and that's where that confidence came from, with just speaking and just being able to just say hello and make a great connection in the spare of the moment. And then, I was very involved with stuff too. So, when it comes with sports or clubs, organizations, when you are in spaces with other people, you are kind of forced to speak and interact. So, it kind of started at an early age. I'm a talkative person. I love conversation. So, interacting or making friends or just being social period was never a challenge for me. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like, I would probably say, like, I've always kind of been extroverted too.
Right.
But like introverted as well. Like, I think growing up, like, you have moments where you're to yourself and you try to think, who am I?
Definitely.
Why do I feel this way? How do I feel right now? But I think, I think probably just being kind of forced to be in community settings is probably what helped me build like on my communication and social skills. But generally, always just lean towards it being like extroverted, probably.
Definitely.
So were either of you all told, or like when you're in grade school on your report card, did your teacher ever put talks a little too much in class?
I had excessive talking.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I've never been that kid. But
Really?
yeah. I've always been social,
Man.
but I've always been very well mannered. I'm not gonna say it's not well mannered, sorry. But
Yeah, I would say I probably wasn't reckless from the get go, but the moment I find my like gang, then that's when it's class clown. That's when it's get out,
Exactly.
Get out the classroom.
Get out my classroom.
Well, first day you probably wouldn't know. First day it's like, all right, let me feel the salary. But yeah.
But don't you sometimes feel like the pressure of your friends to maybe be a certain way? Talk to the students who may feel like, oh, I got to be the class clown because my friends expect me to be.
So
I see you shaking your head.
So I was never the class clown because my friends wanted it to be. I was the class clown because I wanted old girl over there in the corner to smile whenever I talk.
You had a different motivation.
Yeah, that's what my insurance motivation was.
Is that typically the motivation for guys?
I don't know. Like, I do think like there wasn't, for me, there was like early on like a need to like be accepted subtly.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I actually remember in third grade, my third grade like English teacher actually pulled me out the classroom saying, "Hey, I'm noticing that you're acting out a lot more, and your grades are slipping." And I remember like at that time just thinking, man, like, dang, she's right. Like, I really kind of am like more of a nerd than I am like a reckless guy. But my friends are moving this way, so I'm kind of like doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So I think there's like a balance, like of trying to fit in, and then also trying to figure out who you are. You know what I mean? If I'm being honest, like that, I think even for a long time I probably struggled with. You know what I mean? Like, do you really do? You know what I mean? Like, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for other people?
Even doing it for the girls, doing it for other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, for real.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
Exactly. So it's like it's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think I had random spurts. Like from pre-K to third grade, my mom worked at the elementary school that I went to.
Gosh.
So during that first few years, there was a few moments where sometimes I might have a few outbursts or a few moments where my mom had to come in, but most of the time I was well behaved. Now, 4th and 5th grade, we transferred schools. My mom's not working in elementary school no more. She's working in middle school. That 4th and 5th grade period was where, oh yeah, my mama not here. Ain't nothing gonna happen.
But so that was just you. That wasn't pressure driven. That was just you.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say pressure driven, but I think I just wanted to, I guess, have a little attention. I think we all want some.
So it always comes from somewhere.
Yeah, because I was never a bad kid, but it was just some moments where it's like, even with my mom and my grandparents, they'd be like, Ryan, what you know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? So yeah, but I think sometimes that's just the nature of growing up as a child, growing up as a kid. Every kid is not going to be the perfect straight A student.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best lessons in a child's life in development are the lessons when you get in trouble in grade school, middle school, and it helps you learn those lifelong lessons down the line, so forth and so on. And, you know.
It might stem from knowing that you want to do something significant in life.
Yeah.
And feeling and trying to feel out like what it takes to be significant. You know what I mean? And like as when growing up, you see people doing what seems to be significant things, and it might even just be, wait, is that what significant people do? I know I'm supposed to do something important. Should I go ahead and do the same thing? Or you know what I mean?
Message.
He just said what I was. Yeah. He said.
And you still feel, you know, it takes a while to figure it out and figure out who you are. And it's complicated though.
Right.
It's hard.
It's super complicated.
So are you saying that even at a young age, you are seeking purpose, even though you don't realize that you were doing
I think low key.
Yeah, especially if you're raised that way too. Like, if parents are still in you to, you know, don't follow the pack, you know, be a leader, you know, you're going to be somebody in life.
Right.
And as an adolescent or a child, you know, you don't necessarily know what it takes or what you need to do.
Exactly.
All I know is I need to stand out.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I'm gonna lash out, figure it out. And then when you get in trouble, that heart drops, right? And you're like, okay, this is where I went wrong. Next time I'm in this position, I'll do it this way.
Yeah, it's almost like feeling your way through the dark. Like you don't really know what you're doing, but you're just trying to you know, vibe your way through.
Yeah.
At what point in your life do you start really discovering really what you feel like you're here to do, or really how you feel like you want to contribute to the world?
I personally think that for me, you identify that by the problems that bother you the most. You know, as in general, I think as humans, we're here to solve problems. You know, and every effective business, every effective service or product solves a problem. Like if you're a comedian, you're solving the problem of people being bored. If you're tech, you're solving more advanced problems. You know what I mean? But everything solves problems. I think the problems that bother me the most are most likely the problems that I'm here to solve. Like there's somebody who may walk in a room. Everybody walks in a room and sees different things. Right. You know what I mean? Like somebody may walk in a room and just be upset with the way it's designed. Like, man, you really should have put this there instead of that way. Somebody may walk in and say, why is she wearing those heels with that shirt? Right. Another dude might be like, yo, like, there's not enough energy in here. We need more energy in the room. And I think what you feel like is missing is like what you're here to contribute. What you feel like is wrong. Exactly. You know what I mean? Because that's, I think, what makes us unique.
I love that.
And pursuing that with excellence is what, of course, I think is what we're all called to do.
I love that. Anybody have any other thoughts on that?
I don't have any. He really summed it up. Really
yeah,
well,
like he's been proving a lot of points right now.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. As we start to close out today, I like to have everybody kind of end with some advice and some insight for our viewers. And so for you, since we are talking about being HBCU made, you know, I'd love for you to talk to the student who may be considering an HBCU, you know, and talk to them about why you feel that you are HBCU made and any advice or insights that you'd like to offer to them.
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, just overall, and not to kind of beat on a dead horse, but HBCUs definitely make you to who you're supposed to be if you do it the right way. You know, I understand that being shy is normal. I understand that not being so social is normal, but getting out that comfort zone will only help you grow. It'll only help you flourish. Like being in your dorm all day, neglecting the student activities and the football games, the basketball games, like that, it's all a part of it. And you have to be willing to take that step in order to understand what is your purpose at the school, what is your purpose post-grad, what is your purpose in the now. And overall, if you don't utilize your HBCU experience the right way, you're going to regret it 4, 5, 6 years after you graduate when you're still struggling with the same issues that you had before you went to your HBCU, during your HBCU, and now after the HBCU experience?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say an HBCU is like almost like good therapy,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like the work, like right now, America's 15%, or I don't even know, it's probably less black, right?
Right.
And the rest, and it's predominantly a white country. And I think after graduating, you have the rest of your life to be in the world as it is.
Man.
But when you're in the HBCU, you have the opportunity to experience. Like when I see a Kai Cenat stream, it's like it's like that vibe. You know what I mean? It's like just people just be comfortable being themselves, which makes it easier to open up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It happens more naturally.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I've been in like at UCLA where the first day of school is like, man, like okay, like are you cool? I don't know. Are you down? I don't know. You know what I mean? And like, but that just happens more automatic at the HBCUs. And I think especially for Black people, it's important. You know what I mean? Like we grow up hearing about the fact that we were slaves. We grow up, and granted, like look, we all have confidence, but you know there may be certain like low key things that are shaking up a little bit.
Right.
That I feel like kind of like eliminate themselves when you go to the HBCU.
And I think another motivation before the show, you mentioned about history. And what does what history do you learn from HBCUs? Whatever HBCU you go to, you're taught the history on how your university started.
Man.
So if that story alone doesn't motivate you to go out and do something great, then I don't know what will.
And they're gonna force you to take the African
the one-on-one. Yeah, right. Yeah,
you know where you learn about
your school seminar 101.
Well, so I will say that even though I didn't go to an HBCU, I'm very glad that I went to the school I went to, San Francisco State. I did not realize before going to that school had the first Black Studies department in the country, the first ethnic studies department in the country, the first Black student union in the country out of the 1968 strike. So there was so much history at that school that I really, I took the Black Studies classes. I did all of those things. So I had that experience through being in the BSU.
What made you want to take the Black Studies class?
Well, I joined BSU, and so I think that that kind of I had always been interested in I was that person, like I said, first week of school, I'm looking for the BSU because I always wanted that connection. And so I've always wanted to know more about where I came from, more about, you know, my identity deeper than, you know, just me, you know, and where it comes from. So I will say, because you made me think about that, I'm like, well, yeah, I did some of that stuff, even though I didn't go to HBCU, which was awesome for me.
So I have a just quick question for you and my other fellow people who spent time at PWIs.
Yeah.
So in some of your classes, were you the only Black kid in the class?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, in that class, was it the history course when you guys were learning about segregation and or slavery? Because I have never felt more isolated in my life than being the only Black kid learning about the early history of America, talking about slavery and transitioning to segregation, and having your professor go, "What do you think, Lance?" And the entire classroom turn around and go, and look right at it.
So I'll say I've had that experience, but I've had that corporately. I haven't had that in school. Okay. I think in school, I probably just wasn't serious enough about life to even be processing it like that. But in corporate, you'd have moments where, you know, like the George Floyd situation or something, and then you know everybody's like, "So Josh, tell us how you feel," and it's like the pressure of, well, dang, I gotta represent
the entire race.
It's a very
the blacks are like on the line here. I gotta represent,
dang.
And it's like, dang, like, you know, it's just pressure, and you know, I'm feeling like, dang, I know whatever I'll say, I'm letting Dr. Umar down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't got the bars for y'all. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I don't have the bars for you.
50,000 lashes.
Right, every time. But yeah, no, like I felt that though. It is a crazy feeling.
Mine was during when Mike Brown passed away. That was like my sophomore year of college, like going right into it and being the only one in the classroom that was Black. And I would kick it with my baseball teammates and everything like that. But once that happened, and you know, I would post myself on Facebook like, "Why are they killing us for this, that, and third?" Like, and I was in my complete pro-Black stance. I wouldn't hear from them. They wouldn't kick it with me or anything like that. So that's why I wanted to ask that question.
And it's so interesting to hear your experiences when it comes to, you know, being Black in mostly white spaces, because I've been around Black people my whole life. And now that I know more and I understand more about the segregation, the civil rights, and hell, what's going on in our society now,
Right.
I think I would be very emotional to that topic in those white spaces. So I'm just interested to see if I was ever placed in that position of, hey Ryan, what do you think? And everybody, because I feel like I wouldn't have no filter.
Yeah.
Because I get angry. I think we all get angry when we see what we see, on television, in our society, in our community. So it's just interesting for me to just kind of envision my reaction to being in those spaces.
What do you think your reaction would be?
I'll tell it how it is. I might have to look. Your great grandfather probably enslaved my great grandfather, and I don't appreciate that.
Now, but in a work setting where that could potentially create friction.
But honestly, you know what? I think you inspire me right now. Because I think even if in those moments I would just explain to people how that moment makes me feel. I think that'd be freeing. Yeah, if I were just you know what, it's crazy. Even now I don't know what to say, but I feel pressure to speak to represent all Black people. I would have rather just been honest about what I'm feeling than put the pressure on myself to feel like I have to have these scholarly
teach and give lessons. Yeah, you know what I mean. The best.
And this is a great point, and I think that it's a great place to kind of round this conversation out. What does it mean to you to be excellent, to walk in your excellence?
Be the best in your field, and set the standard for what the best is. You know what I mean? And that's regardless of race. That's regardless of everything. It's just being the best. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Serena Williams was the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But whoever she played against, she ended up being the best. And I think that's what excellence is. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't like when I see people say, I support Black businesses. But you have certain people who, I think you should support something because it's the best, not because it's just Black. Although I do support Black business just because they're Black. Right. I do. Okay. But I'm just saying I do think there's a lot of areas that we could do better.
There's room for improvement.
You know what I mean? Right now, White people cracking jokes on us saying we not on time. Black people time. We cool with that. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Yeah, and we do be late.
Yeah.
And we do be late.
I try my best to be on time, even though time is a man-made concept.
Here we go.
Now, what excellence means to me is that you get up every single day and you put your best foot forward. You put effort in and you actually try to be something. All right? You cannot control the uncontrollables. You can only control what you can control, and that is getting up, putting your best foot forward, and trying every single day. And that there to me is excellence.
I will say though, if your best foot is not the best,
you know that you bull driving.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Because I think sometimes we use that as an excuse. Right. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you have to think of a better way to do something. Right. You know what I mean? We talk and sometimes you have to expose yourself to things you've never been exposed to. Correct. You know what I mean? Right now, 90%, I think 94% of Black business, I may be off on the percentages, but a large percent of Black businesses right now are one employee companies. You know what I mean? And I think that's due to the information we're exposed to. Right. Somebody may be trying their best, but when they think about being entrepreneurs, think about starting a t-shirt company instead of thinking about starting a tech company. Right. Or think about, you know what I mean? So I do think that if you're not the best, there's things that because you can be trying your best and not be the best. And sometimes it's because trying involves other things than what you're doing. You need to expose yourself to information that you don't know. Yeah. You need to expose yourself to environments that you've never been in to figure out what are you doing that's not causing you to be number one.
Yeah. You have to have a growth mindset.
Yeah. And I think that goes into being intentional. I think we have a problem with just being intentional, period. Just knowing what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and when we're going to do it. And one thing that I'm learning right now in this phase of my life is that when you are intentional, sometimes you do get the best results or better results. So, forming those good habits, sticking with those good habits and being consistent with those good habits, I think goes with being intentional with being the best. And I like what you said about if your best foot isn't your best, it's still kind of like null and void.
Yeah, if your best foot isn't the best. And I'd even go to say too, to that point of intentionality, you need to know what things cost. Right. I think one thing that's hurting us right now is we ignorantly shoot at goals, not knowing what it takes to get there.
Exactly.
Like,
Putting
like
your best foot forward.
it's
Right.
not. It's
You know
not.
what I
And
mean?
that's what I'm saying. Putting your best foot forward.
It
looks-
involves all of that. It involves knowing where you fall short at,
Yeah.
how you're going to overcome it. What are some things that I'm trying to get accomplished? Not only that, who am I looking up to, and how did they get there?
That
Better yet,
point.
can I pick their brain? Can I pick up the phone and call and be like, "Hey, man, have you ever been in this space?" And they go, "Yeah, when I was there, I would blank, blank, blank." You go, "Okay, cool." Now, even if you feel as though I'm not gonna do all of that, you can still go about it with the right mindset as to what I'm going to take out, what I'm going to adjust it to make it your own. You know what I mean?
So I would recommend that you wake up every day and ask yourself, how am I going to grow today? What can I learn today? What can I do better today? What's new that I can add to my routine that will help me to be more effective? And on that note, we are going to have to wrap up. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. Like, this is an example, a beautiful example of what being HBCU made looks like. And thank you, all of you. And thank you to all of our viewers for watching. Please leave in the comment section below any topics that you'd like us to discuss, any life lessons that you'd like to explore. Once again, my name is Melanie Eke, and you are watching Life Lessons on NCRF TV.